This is the slider we're going to design in this video. You can see we have this nice slider with this bounce effect. Okay, so this is the one we're going to build in this video. So let's have a look. You can click and you can slide on both the sides. Okay, it's working fine. Let's come back to the code. So here we are back in the code editor and I have already opened the project. So if you haven't watched the previous video, in that we had built a follower component, so make sure you watch that. And this we're going to build that beautiful slider. Okay, so you know the drill. Let's come back to the component and let's create a folder for that. So let's call it slider. Copy, and we have to create the css file, jsx file, slider.jsx, and we have to create the css file for that as well. So module.css. okay, let's come here, type rafce, and we have to do the internal import. So let's type internal import, and we have to import the css file, okay, style, and that's coming from the same directory, same folder. So that's what we have here. Now let's come back to the component.index, and here we need to import that slider component. Import slider, and that's coming from slider. Okay, simply copy and export this. Normal drill, close this one, and we need to come back to the pages index.js, and here we're going to call the component. So first thing we have to do is to let's call it. So we need to call the component right below the follower tab. Okay, so let's call that slider, save it, and simply copy the title and paste above it. And in this title, let's come back to the application, and you can see here we have the title. Copy this title from the original and replicate it from here, and that's the title. Save it and copy the text and simply change this the paragraph as well. Okay, make sure you do these changes. Okay, let's bring it up. I got some extra space, not a big deal. So that's what we have here. Now let's come back to the original one. So this is what we have built in the last video, and let's come up here. So to see that, I need to start the application. I forgot to start. So let's open the terminal, type npm run dev, and let's start the application. Simply click on this 3000, and here you can open the application. You can see the slider. We have some issue here. So slider is not defined. We have to import the slider. So we have to import it here. So let's call it slider, and let's remove this one. So this is our slider component. So let's reload the browser, and right now we have this error. Okay, we still have some problem. I think we have a double import. Okay, here it is. So we need to remove this extra import. Okay, we are doing two import, that's why we are getting this error. Remove this one, and right now we'll have no error, maybe. So let's reload the browser, and everything's working fine. Let's scroll all the way down to have a look. So this is the audio component we had built, and this is the component we have already built. Let's come down. You can see we have this explore NFT video component, and here we have the slider component. So it's working fine. So let's close this one, and let's close this one, and now we can start working on our slider itself. Okay, so let's import couple of things from React. So use state and use effect, and we need to use this use ref. Okay, so in this we're going to use a library called motion frame. Okay, that will allow us to add that bouncing effect in our slider. We can create our own slider, but we're going to use this library which allow us to add fancy animations. So let's install that npm package. So let's open up your terminal, and let's bring it up, make it side by side, and we need to install that motion frame npm package. Let's clear the terminal and type npm I. So let's come up and let me show you what is motion frame exactly. So let's type motion frame, click on this very first link, and this is the library which allow you to add fancy animations. So you can come, and I already made a complete tutorial on this which I will link in the I button in the description, so you can watch that how you can utilize this motion library and how it's worked. Okay, so you can come up here, you can scroll all the way down. You can see, you can play with these values and have some amazing styling. You can read the documentations. They have pretty simple documentation which is very easy to read, and you can easily able to create beautiful animation. So everything is explained beautifully. You will have a couple of examples which you can check from your end. So let's come back to the core data, and this is the command we have to run: npm I firmer motion. Okay, not motion frame, firmer motion. Hit enter and install the package. Just wait, this process will take a little bit time. And the installation started, and here we have completed the installation. Clear the terminal and simply bring down the terminal, and now we need to import that. Okay, so here if we come in the package.json file, here you can able to find that more firmer motion. Okay, so we have installed that. Now we have to simply import that package, so we'll call it motion, and it's coming from firmer motion. Okay, we need to import the icon itself, so we need the arrow icon, arrow left tick, and that's coming from react icon ti. We need to import one more icon, and then this is one is going to be for the right. Okay, arrow, let's say right tick. These are the two icons we have. Now let's come here, let's take a demo data slider array, and we need to take this close to 6. Okay, we'll take this use state and we'll call it width, and initially it will be 0. Let's come down, we'll take this const and it will call it drag slider. So this data will be updated, because when we'll drag the slider we need to get that data, that what is the width of the slider. Okay, that's why we are taking this variable. This hook will give us the data about the width, okay, about the slider. So here we have that dragger slider, and let's come down, let's remove this and let's start writing the JSX. We'll take a div, it will have a class called, it'll have a class style, and we'll call it slider, and that will have another div, it will have a class called slide dash box, and that will have this h2, it will call explore NFT video. Down below we'll take another div, it will have a class called style dot slider box button, and that will have a p tag, and we'll call it click on play icon, and we'll say enjoy NFT. Just write whatever you want. Okay, so this is the paragraph, and we'll say video. Okay, we'll come down, we'll have another div, it will have a class called style slider box button dash, we can call it, let's say button. In that we're going to have this ti arrow left, and it will have on click functions, and here we need to call the function name handle, let's say handle scroll. Okay, so when we'll click on this left icon, it will scroll the slider to the left. So that's why we need to create this function. Okay, so we'll pass the props left. Okay, so left. Now we can, let's do one thing here, take a div, it will have a class called style box button icon, and we need to simply copy and paste here. Okay, and we need to have a two button, so what we can do, simply replicate this one. Let's change the button name, so it's gonna be a right one, but the function name is going to be this one is right. Okay, so that's the button function. Let's come down, we'll come here, we're going to call the motions package we have installed. So now we have to use this package we have installed for our slider and for that bouncy effect. So this is how we can write the syntax. So we have to take this motion, and then we have to call this div. Okay, it will have a class called style and slider box, we'll call it items, and we have to pass this ref, and in that we're going to call this drag slider. Okay, in that we'll call this motion.dev, and it will have the ref, and in that we need to call this drag slider. This will give the data that where we are actually currently. Okay, and it will have a class called style dot slider dash box item. Okay, So that's the second motion div, and it will have some properties. So it will have drag because we want to drag on x-axis, and we have to drag constraint, and here we need to specify the property. So right is going to be the 0, and the left side is going to be a little bit tricky. Okay, so left is going to be actually width minus width. Okay, so simply come here. Why we are getting this error? Remove this one, and let's come here, and we are getting an error. So let's come down, and let's take a dynamic data. We'll see what is the problem we have. Okay, we'll take the slider array, and we're going to map over it element I, and we're going to return instantly. And in that, we need to take this slider, and actually we don't have this component. We need to create this component. Let's have a key I plus 1, and we need to send the prop, so element, and we need to send the I as well in the slider component. Okay, we are getting an error. What's the matter? Everything's look good. Okay, here we need to provide the bracket. So right now we don't have the error, and everything's looking good. So things are looking good. Now let's come here. So just wait. So I noticed that we have some error. So let's come back to the terminal, and we have a lot of error. Let's restart the application. So we'll say run dev, and let's click on this, and just wait. Still we have this error, call stack. Okay, let's come back, and let's come here. Let's comment this and reload the browser. So okay, everything's working fine. So we have the problem in that motion. Okay, here we have the problem, and okay, and let's come here, and let's create a use effect. Okay, so it's gonna be an arrow, and in that we're going to call this set width. We'll call this drag dot current, because the reason why we are getting this error, because we don't have this minus width value we have assigned. Okay, so we need to assign a width. Okay, so drag current scroll width, and minus drag slider dot current offset. So whatever value we'll get from here, that will assign to the width. Okay, and you have seen that we have used the use ref, which will give the reference of the slider. Okay, if you don't understand anything, just write the code along with me. It will make sense when you will see that how it's working. Okay, so this is our use effect. Now we have to call this handle click function, and that we need to pass this props. Let's say direction, you can call it whatever you want. And here we have to check. So here we're going to say current is going to be a draggable slider, and scroll amount, so how far we want to scroll it. So here we have to take this window dot inner width. It should be greater than 1800, then do this, otherwise this one. Okay, that's the simple logic we are building. And then we have to call this check direction equal to left, then we want to scroll it to the left hand side, scroll left minus scroll amount, and else we want to do the same thing for this right hand side. Okay, that's our function. Let's come here and make sure you do this change. It's not right, it's left. Okay, so change this to left and save it. Come back to the application, reload the browser, and just a moment, and still we are getting this error. Okay, right now we are getting some different error. Still we are getting the same error. So let's come here, and okay, we have this slider. Actually we don't have this slider component, and I'm calling the same component inside the component. That's why we are getting this error. Okay, my bad. Okay, my bad. So we need to change this. We need to create that. Let's come here, and let's go to the slider one, and we need to create another folder. We'll call it slider card. Copy and say slidercard.jsx, and we have to create the CSS file in the same folder. Okay, because this is going to be our dynamic component. We type rfce. Now let's come here. We have to do the internal import our CSS file. So import style, and that's coming from the same directory. So that's the component we have. Let's come here, close this one, and let's come back to the slider. And here what we can do, we need to import that component. So we'll say import slider card, and that's coming from the same folder. Okay, slider card. Okay, so simply copy and simply paste here and save it. If we come back to the application, you can see reload the browser, and I guess we don't have any error this time. Everything's working fine, we don't have any error anymore. Okay, so let's scroll down, and here you can see we can easily able to render the 7 component. So everything's working fine, so it's look good. So this one is looking great. Now what we can do here, let's come back to the applications and close this one, and let's start working on the slider card. So we need to import couple of things from React. So use state, use ref, and use ref. Okay, we need to import the motions, that's coming from former motions. We need to import the images from Next.js, and we need to import the images, all the images which is inside the image folder. We need to import the, let's say, like profile. Okay, and that's coming from the where we have inside this like profile. So these are the external and internal import. Let's remove this and let's call the JSX. So we'll take this motion dev. Okay, motion dev, and it will have a class called style slider card with small, and we'll take another dev. It will have a class called style slider card dash box. Inside that we'll have a this motion dev. It will have a class called style dash slider card box image. Inside that we have to take this image tag. We need to provide the source images dot, and we have the image background one. All tag is going to be, let's say, slider profile. We need to provide the width is going to be, let's say, 500, and we provide height is going to be 300. Let's assign object fit to cover, and that's look good. Let's come down, we'll take another div. It will have a class called slider card dash box title. In that we need to take this paragraph. It will have a class called style slider card box title like. Inside that we're going to have this like profile, and we'll come down, we'll take a small tag, and here we're going to say 1 out of 100, 1 of 100. Okay, so that's the like profile we have. Now what else we can add it? So let's convert that into a div, not p tag. Okay, let's take a p tag above, and let's say NFT video, and let's give this number to the video. Okay, so that's working fine. Now let's come down, take another div. It will have a class called style slider card box price, and here we'll take another div. It will have a class style card box price dash box. In that we'll take this small, we'll call it current bid, and we'll take a paragraph. It will say have the price of the ether. Okay, it will come out of the div, and we'll have another div. It will have a style called slider card dash box price time. In that we'll have the small tag, and we'll say remaining time. And that will take the speed tag, and we have to assign the time 3 hours 15 minutes 20 seconds. So that's the complete JSX part for this slider card component. So things are looking good. Let's have a look that are we missing anything else. No, actually we don't using anything like this, so simply remove that one. Okay, so remove this one. External internal import, we have the JSX, and if we come back to the application, this is how it will look. You can see everything's rendering perfectly, so things are looking good. Okay, let's come back, close this one, and go to the CSS file, and let's start working on the slider first. Okay, so let's come here and simply remove this one. Okay, actually keep it, and come back, come here and go to this index.js, And what we can do, we can simply remove this title. Okay, so remove this title, and let's come back to the slider and let's start working on it. Okay, so we'll target the slider. Width is going to be 100%. Slider box is going to be width 80%. Margin 0 auto. Padding is going to be 0, minus 1 RAM and 8 RAM and 0. So this is how it will look. Let's come down. We'll tag the slider box H2. Font size is going to be 3 RAM. Line height is going to be 0. Slider box button will have a display is going to be flex, justify content, space between, align item center. Slider box button display is going to be flex, align item center. Gap is going to be 2 RAM. Font size is going to be 2 RAM. That's how it will look. Slider box button BTN icon. So we'll target the border 1 pixel solid var, and it's going to be an icon color. Padding is going to be 1 RAM. Display is going to be flex. Align item center. Border radius is going to be 50%. And transition all 0.3 second easy in. And cursor is going to be a pointer. That looks good. Let's tag that button icon on over effect. We need to change the color of the background. So it will have a, let's say, icon color. And we'll have a, let's say, color is going to be main color. Okay, box shadow is going to be the custom box shadow color. So you can see it's working fine. We'll target the slider box items. Width is going to be 100%. Overflow is going to be hidden. Slider box item, so this will become display is going to be flex. Let's say grid template column repeat 6, 20.4 RAM. Repeat 6, 20.4 RAM. Padding is going to be 4 RAM and 2 RAM. Cursor grab. Okay, that's look good. Slider box item will have a display none. Simply let's add the WebKit. Okay, WebKit scroll bar. Okay, so we have this one looking fine. Let's come down. Let's add a media query. So, and max width is going to be, let's say, 35 em. We'll target the slider box H2. Font size is going to be 2 RAM. Slider box item overflow auto, and grid template column repeat 6, 95%. Padding is going to be 4 RAM and 0. So that's how it will look. Let's come down. We'll target the slider box. Width is going to be 90%. Slider box button icon would be padding 0.5 RAM. So you can see that's look pretty good and responsive. So that's the part. Now let's come here and go to the card component, and we can target the card itself. So target the slider card. Padding is going to be 1 RAM. Slider card box. Transition all 0.3 second easy in. Border radius 2 RAM. Padding bottom is going to be 1 RAM. Slider card box on over effect, we want to add this box shadow to our custom box shadow. You can see it's look perfect. Let's target the slider card box image. It's 2 RAM. And I think why it's not taking place. Simply come here and go back to the GSX and let's have a look. Okay, we don't have the class. So let's assign a class. Simply copy this and paste here. It's gonna be image. So if we save it, it will come to the application. You can see we have this border radius. It's working fine. So let's come down. We'll target the slider card box title. Display is going to be a flex. Align item center. Padding is going to be, padding and line is going to be 2 RAM. Justify content space between. A gap is going to be 1 RAM. So that's how it will look. And let's say slider box title P. Font size is going to be 1.2 RAM. Line height is going to be 0.5, and font width 800. Let's come back here and let's comment out this like profile. Okay, we'll see whether we want to display or not. Okay, so for time being, let's comment out and let's start working on the CSS. Let's come here, we'll target the slider card box title like, and we'll say display is going to be flex, align item center, gap is going to be 0.5 ram. Let's come here, slider card box price, display is going to be flex, justify content space between, padding inline is going to be 2 ram, line height 0, margin top 1 ram, text align end, and that's how it will look. Let's come down, price box, border 1 pixel solid, var icon color, padding 0.2 ram, 1 ram, border radius 0.2 ram, slider box price box small, and background color is going to be our icon color, padding 0.2 ram, 0.5 ram, border radius 0.2 ram, color is gonna be our main color. Okay, that's how it will look. Let's come down, we have to target the box price box p, and font size is going to be 1.3 ram, width is going to be 700, and margin top is going to be 2 ram, line height is going to be 0. Let's come down, target the slider card box price time, and align item is going to be flex end, font display is going to be grid. Let's come down and let's target the price item p. We'll say font size is going to be 1.3 ram, and font width is going to be 700. Okay, let's add a media query. So we'll say min device width is going to be 300 pixels, and max device width is going to be, let's say, 375 pixels. We'll target the slider card and we'll say padding is going to be 0.5 ram. That's how it will look. We'll target the slider box title, and p is going to be, let's say, font size is going to be 1 ram. We'll say slider box price box, and it will have a padding 0.2 ram. Let's come down, we'll target the slider box price time p. We'll say font size is going to be 1 ram. That's how it will look. Responsive. Okay, things are looking really good. Okay, this is not working, so let's come here and let's go on a full screen, and this is how it will look. You can see, okay, we have some problem. One div is coming down. Let's scroll down. You can see our scroll is working. Okay, but why we have extra div? We need 6 but we have 7. But here you can see, we can scroll down, we have like this something. So things are working fine. Okay, let's come back to our code and let's have a look what's the matter. Let's come to the slider card and let's come here, go to the slider, and let's have a look at the array, the dynamic array. So here we have taken 6, 7, we need to remove 1. Okay, so remove 1 and take 6 only. Okay, now let's remove that, and here you can see it's working fine. We don't have any extra, and now we can easily able to slide it. Okay, that's working fine. 100% responsive. You can see it's working fine. We have this bouncing effect, so that's looking good. So let's click on this, it's working fine. Okay, so that's also looking good. Let's come here, and if we go to this slider card, and here we have the image. So let's change the background image to 1 from 10. Okay, so we can display the exact image as we have in the demo, and as you can see the image is changed. Now we have the similar image and we can slide it down and it's looking absolutely perfect. But something is wrong here. Okay, so the function is not working properly on the button. Okay, if we are clicking on the icon, then it's working, but it's not working on the entire button. Okay, so let's fix that. So let's come back here, and where we having the function, so we are calling this function only on the arrow, but instead of calling that function in the arrow, we have to call it on the div. Okay, So let's do one thing, simply cut and call the function on the div. Do the same thing from this one also, and now it will work. You can see now wherever you can click on the entire button, the function will execute. So it's working fine. We can easily able to slide it down, responsive and looking perfect. This is how it will look on a mobile device. You can see 100% responsive. On a bigger screen, this is how it will look, and on large screen, this is how it will look. So that's look perfect. Let's close all the tab, and let's stop the application and let's push this code to GitHub. Okay, you know what we have to do here, so let's quickly do this. Let's open GitHub and let's create a new repository, and let's call it NFT marketplace, and we're going to call it slider. Okay, hit enter, and we need to initialize this command. So copy paste, copy paste, and copy paste. Just wait, this process will take a little bit time, so it's loading, and just wait. So here we have completed that. Let's close that one and reload the browser, and here you can able to find that the card we have created. So that's it in this video. Hope you have enjoyed. If you have any doubt, any comment, or if you have committed any kind of mistake in the code, or if you are not able to catch up, the code is already provided to you. Make sure from there you can compare, but don't simply copy and paste. Okay, so with that said, let's move to the next video.